In the next few years, I expect the digital transformation of life to bring huge changes. Everything from science to healthcare to sensors to robotics.
Whether it's information technology and the acceleration we see in artificial intelligence, you just look across the board and you can see a lot is happening.
It's really the notion of digital technology pervasively impacting every walk of life in every vertical industry on all parts of the globe.
The speed is mind-boggling. What I'm particularly concerned about it is how little the world is prepared for the fourth industrial revolution.
When we talk about surveillance, I think a lot of us have the idea, oh, there's the security cameras, and then there's somebody standing behind, all the monitors and looking and seeing what's going on. That image is over. It doesn't work anymore. Right now, the cameras themselves are doing the operations. In other words, you have a traffic camera, that camera can detect if somebody is, doing something wrong and automatically issue a ticket, right? So we're building these autonomous surveillance systems that actually intervene in the world. And a lot of people are saying that by 2020, there'll be 1 trillion sensors on the surface of the Earth. When we look at what these planetary infrastructures look like, on the left, we see an image of what Google's global infrastructure looks like. On the right, we see the National Security Agency's global infrastructure as of 2013. The point is, these are literally technological systems that envelop the Earth. And so one project that I've been doing is just trying to go to the places where these systems come together. Where does this infrastructure kind of congeal in very specific places? A really important part of global telecommunications is choke points, places where transcontinental fiber optic cables come together. What are the places where the continents are connected to one another? These are really important to telecommunications, but also obviously very important to surveillance. You sit on these places, you can collect most of the data that's going through the Earth's telecommunication systems. And what do you see in the image? Nothing, right? The point of these images is these are some of the most surveilled places on Earth. These are literally kind of core parts of global telecommunications and surveillance infrastructure. There's no evidence whatsoever that that's going on in the photos of these kind of places. So, and started going out and studying nautical charts and undersea maps to try to find places on the continental shelf where I could maybe see these. Going out with teams of divers, when you do everything right, you find images like this. As you can see, there's dozens and dozens of internet cables moving across the floor of the ocean. These are cables that connect the east coast of the United States to Europe.
Humanity itself will be changed with this superintelligence, and we are at the doorstep of that era.
A former Google and Uber executive is organizing a new religion. The organizer is Mr. Anthony Lewandowski. He is a Silicon Valley expert in driverless vehicles. The religion is called the Way of the Future. The religion's Bible is called the Manual. The religion hopes to build temples and hold religious services to worship its God. And who or what is the God of the Way of the Future? Mr. Lewandowski believes that an artificially intelligent global brain will evolve into a God that must be worshiped someday by humanity. He told Wired magazine, quote, "What is going to be created will effectively be a God. It's not a God in the sense that it makes lightning or causes hurricanes, but if there is something 1,000,000,000 times smarter than the smartest human, what else are you going to call it?" End of quote. Prominently talked about was 2030.
Yeah.
It was throughout the conference. And I want to point out, to be fair and accurate, at the Mobile World Congress, there was no discussion of worshiping a God.
Right.
It was totally a technology project, but they did refer to it as a global brain.
That's correct.
And the reference was to the construction of an Internet of Things world where every device has microchips that are connected to the internet and connected to each other.
That's right.
And they said as these devices multiply throughout the world, and there will be billions of them, that eventually you will have a global brain that will evolve simply by all of these devices talking to themselves.
Now, when we're talking about planetary surveillance systems, aka planetary telecommunication systems, they're not only enveloping the Earth like in series of cables and hardware and infrastructure, they're also in the skies above our heads. Every minute of every hour, there are hundreds and hundreds of satellites over our heads. One project I've been doing, again, over many, many years, is trying to track and photograph all of the secret satellites in orbit around the planet, all the unacknowledged satellites. And this is done using data from amateur astronomers. Amateur astronomers go out, they see something in the sky, they look it up in the catalog, it's not there, they know they've seen a secret satellite, which is usually an American military or intelligence satellite. They write down what they saw. What I can do is I can take that observation, model that orbit, and then go out at night, model the orbit, make a prediction about where something will be, and then using telescopes and kind of computer-guided mounts, I can pinpoint a place in the sky where I think it'll be. And if you do everything right, which is rare, you get an image like this. And this line here is the streak of something called the X-37B, for example. This is an American secret space drone that's currently on its 4th mission.
O Google acaba de fechar uma parceria com a Biblioteca Britânica, dona de um dos maiores acervos do mundo. Serão digitalizados 250 mil livros e documentos publicados entre 1700 e 1870. Entre as raridades estão panfletos feministas a respeito da Rainha Maria Antonieta e registros sobre o primeiro submarino movido por um motor de combustão. O objetivo da biblioteca é digitalizar 1 milhão de livros até 2020.
His footage of NSA bases was included in Citizen 4, Laura Poitras's documentary about Edward Snowden. But he doesn't consider himself an activist with a political agenda.
If I say, I think we should pay attention to Google as an institution, and that we should really think about whether or not we want to have that sort of power concentrated in a particular company and corporations with that sort of influence, how do we want them to exist? Is that an activist proposition? Not really, in the sense that you're not proposing something that we're going to do about it, but perhaps it's activist in the sense that you're saying this is something that I think should be on our kind of social agenda to.
I decided I want to write a book about the very old and the very new, about ancient Christianity and also artificial intelligence. And what would be a perfect setting for that? Well, you know, Spain is a country with an enormous history, a Christian history, a deep Christian history, and they also have the second fastest computer in the world and are working in artificial intelligence. And also...
And the computer is in a church.
It is in a church, yeah.
Symbols are a language that can help us understand our past.
The film version and 2 others in the franchise star Tom Hanks as Harvard professor of symbology Robert Langdon. But with all that success has come a wave of criticism. Brown's been attacked by religious groups and readers for his depictions of Christianity.
Do you consider yourself anti-Catholic or anti-religion?
Absolutely not. Religion does an enormous amount of good in the world. At the same time, there are factions in every religion that take the metaphors and the myth of Scripture and they hold them up as literal fact. And that is the danger of any philosophy or any religion.
Now, Dan Brown is at it again with Origin, a new novel out this week that puts God on the edge of extinction.
Traditionally, all the gods fall. And my question is, are we naive to believe that the gods of today will not suffer the same fate?
Would that be a better planet?
I personally believe that our planet would be absolutely fine without religion, and I also feel that we are evolving in that direction.
Was Origin, can we say Origin was your personal apostasy? Are you an atheist now?
No, I don't think I know enough to be an atheist. I think I'm an agnostic. I'm happy to say that I'm a work in progress. I don't have all the answers. All I know for sure is that the God of my childhood, a God that was resurrected, the God of the New Testament, Jesus, is no longer feels like a literal God to me. I think that there's some beautiful metaphors and stories in the Bible from which we can learn, but I do not see the Bible as historical fact. That just for me is what makes sense to me. That doesn't mean that we can't live our lives with Jesus Christ as an example of compassion. That's fine. But I personally no longer believe that there are people resurrecting from the dead or virgin births or anything like that.
Robert Langdon is very needed in some kind of, because mainly religions take symbols literally, right? That's what you're saying. And Langdon's work is to actually teach us about what symbols are for, not to be taken literally.